Mute your phones. Good afternoon, I'm Clayton Studstill, Special Master for the City of Mexico Beach, Florida. I hereby call to order this code enforcement administrative hearing. Today's date is September 19th of 2018. We're here this afternoon because the City Code Enforcement is called to be heard one case involving alleged violation of city ordinance or land development regulation. Before we get started, I would like to make some comments regarding the conduct of the hearing. This is not as formal a hearing as you would have in one of the circuit courts of the state. I don't expect you to act like an attorney and understand the rules of evidence unless you have that training. So the rules of evidence are going to be relaxed. It should be a little more informal than any trial that you've ever seen before. But that doesn't mean it's a circus. We have law enforcement here. Don't speak out of turn. If you have a comment, if you wish to be addressed as a witness, you'll need to announce yourself at the beginning of this hearing. The city will present its case through its attorney. The alleged violator will also have the opportunity to respond, to view any documentation, any evidence, to present an opening statement, a closing statement if need be, if they so desire. Either party can request that witnesses be sequestered. And as I understand it, counsel for the alleged violator has not yet arrived. It being 45 minutes after 3, this hearing is scheduled to begin at 3:30. I believe it's appropriate to begin without counsel for the alleged violator. City, who are your witnesses?
Your Honor, we'll have the Chief of Police, Chief Kelly, and then we'll also have the City Administrator, Mel Spigelski.
Okay.
The Chief, at the time of the issue, the citation, the City did not have a code enforcement officer, so the Chief is acting as the City's designee for code enforcement.
Okay, I understand. Mr. Vasquez, do you have any witnesses here today?
The Chief.
Okay. Okay.
Some more witnesses right here. The lower, sorry.
Oh, good. Welcome. Welcome. I've just completed my colloquy. It's time to get started. Do you have any witnesses?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In that case, would those nominated as witnesses raise the right hand? Do you swear that the testimony you present here today will be the truth?
Yes.
Okay.
And Your Honor, preliminarily, there are some emails that I'd like to introduce into evidence into the record that I am copied on or a party to those emails. Would you like to swear me in so I can testify as to the nature of those emails? Otherwise, I could have
Other parties
testify. It's up to you. Just from a
Rule 3.7 standpoint, I'd rather you not act as.
and I totally understand.
So if you can introduce it any other way, please do.
Can do. Sure.
Okay. Why don't you get us started?
Your Honor, if I can make a very brief opening statement, we're here on code enforcement citations issued by the city, numbers MB 1101 and MB 1103. Both of these citations stem from the placement of an accessory structure on property located at 2902 Highway 98 that is controlled by Crazy Beach Pizza LLC. That structure, as the city will present evidence today, was placed upon the property without a proper development order as required by the city's land development regulations. And we are here today to ask for an order upholding fines related to the failure to follow the land development regulations as the city's code in Chapter 162 allows you to do. With that, I will introduce Mr. Smigelski.
Unless you would like to make an opening statement. Okay. That's fine. Please approach.
Mr. Smigelski, could you state your name for the record?
Mel Smigelski,
And what is your title at the city?
City Administrator.
And can you tell me about the first time that you became aware of the accessory structure being placed upon this property?
Certainly, it was brought to our attention in early June that there was a structure placed on that property. We did issue a letter June the 15th to the attorneys of the Crazy Beach Pizza, which in essence stated the rules and the need for a development order. During that time then, absent compliance, we did issue 1101 citation on the 27th of June. And subsequent to that, we issued 1103, which is the difference between the two was that we would remove the hut if it wasn't done by Crazy Beach Pizza.
And Mr. Smigelski, let me back you up just a smidge. So you referenced a letter that you sent on June 15th, 2018. I have a copy of that letter here. Could you review that really quickly for me?
Certainly. Definitely a letter issued by me.
Okay, and that's an accurate copy of that letter?
Indeed it is.
And was the purpose of that letter to put Mr. Vasquez on notice of the violation?
That is correct. That was something that we did trying to get compliance before a citation was issued.
And at the time that you wrote this letter, had you confirmed that no one in the city had issued a development order for the placement of that structure on the property?
That is correct. I checked with the building department to inquire whether or not the development order application had even been submitted, and the answer was it was not.
And part of the documents that I have that were submitted as Exhibit A to the city's pre-hearing memorandum indicate there's an email to a Christine Small and Miranda, a Mr. Mike Henry, and a Mr. Jerry Brump. And the email is from you. And can you explain the submittal of the letter via an email?
Sure. We had tried to issue some information to Crazy Beach Pizza, but because we didn't have the address for Mr. Vasquez, and because the certified mail we had sent previously had been returned unopened, so we were trying to ascertain how to get in touch with him.
Now, you mentioned, and Your Honor, I would ask that this email with the corresponding letter be introduced into the record as evidence.
Any objection?
Other than not having reviewed it, I take counsel on his word as to what the word says. Yes.
Okay.
And Your Honor, this is...
I will accept that.
And now, Mr. Smigelski, and I have here a copy of Code Enforcement Citation 1101. Could you review that document quickly?
Certainly.
No, you did not issue that document, correct? That citation?
That is correct. That was done by the police chief.
Did you review that citation at the time of its issuance?
I did.
And do you believe that to be an accurate copy of that citation?
Without question.
Okay. Now, I'm also going to ask you about an email dated June 28th. Now, tell me the date of the issuance of citation 1101.
June the 27th.
Okay. I'm going to ask you about actually a couple of things to make this a little bit easier. If I can get on with that, please, correctly. I'm going to ask you to look at this document, this email dated June 19th, 2018.
Yes, sir. This correspondence simply says that Jerry Rump is the representative of the represented party. And all communication goes through
Okay, and so explain to me the meaning, the significance of that email.
that we as a staff cannot contact Mr. Vasquez.
Any objection to that? It can be. And is that an accurate copy of that email?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd ask to introduce an email dated June 19th from Jerry Brump to Mr. Smigelski as evidence of Exhibit B of this hearing. And this is included in, as a composite exhibit B in the city's pre-hearing memorandum. And I'll get to the second portion, I can probably do it in just a second.
I would rather enter it all at once. if you-
Okay,
if
that's
you are-
fine, you can just hold on to that, and then,
Okay.
all right, so I'm gonna, well, no, I do have a problem here because I'm the only person that can personally verify this second email,
Okay.
except for,
Is it included in your pretrial memorandum?
yes, sir.
And what is the date of that second email?
It's the June 20th, 2018 email at 2:19 PM between Mike Henry, Nick Benanate, Jerry Rum, Christine Smallwood, Miranda, and myself.
Did you just hand it to me?
I did not, but I can show it to you real quick.
Is it part of your pretrial memorandum?
Yes, sir. It has the one that actually has the exhibit tag on it. So it's that one right there. From Mike Henry to all
Ah,
of
but they're
us.
out of date. I got it.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem. Counsel for the alleged violator is here.
Yes, and yeah, no, I mean, Ms. Smallwood was here, and so she could testify, but she would run into the exact same problem. I want to authenticate the email so that it can be introduced, and however you would like that to happen is fine by me.
Well, let's start with, do you have any objection to this email? Have you had a chance to review it?
I don't have any reason to not believe that it is what it purports to be.
Well, when I have two attorneys agree,
Notwithstanding any objection, I would ask.
I don't have any problem with it.
Okay. All right, so I'd ask that this be,
I would accept it. Now, do you want to join it as part of your composite
we
exhibit
can
B?
make that composite exhibit B.
Okay.
That's fine by me. I'll give you another copy.
Does that include the June 19th?
Yeah, that would be the June 19th and the June 20th together as exhibit B. You get it. All right, now, Mr. Smigelski, following two emails, one of them asking from Mr. Jerry Ruff, asking that all communication between Mr. Vasquez and the city go through the attorneys, and then we've just introduced an email which indicates that Mike Henry, one of the attorneys for Mr. Vasquez, would be the single point of contact. I'd like to hand you an email dated June 28th. Did you review that email?
Certainly. This particular email is the one which the citation was actually delivered to Mr. Henry from Mr. Benamante.
And you were copied on that email?
That is correct.
Did you receive that email on June 28th?
I certainly did.
Is that an accurate copy of the email?
No doubt.
Unfortunately, I only have one copy. So, I'll let you review it.
This doesn't appear to be copied from this one.
Yeah, I don't think you were copied on this one today. That is for my percentage, they're instructed us today. Do you have any objection to this being as evidence? Your Honor, this is not included in the city's pretrial memorandum. I only have one copy of it, I forgot to make more. If that was a copy of that email, we would move to admit as exhibit C. And we would include, along with that, a copy of citation 1101.
Did you have any objection to this? Okay, I will accept this as your third exhibit.
Yeah, how are we going to number them? Is up to you. All right, Mr. Smigelski, at any time during the pendency of this, did you receive any information that Crazy Beach Pizza LLC had obtained or applied for a development order?
Not at all.
That's all the questions I have. Ms. Miranda has any questions for Mr. Smigelski?
Yes, I have several.
Okay.
Mr. Smigelski, I've been handed 3 exhibits, I believe, that show communication between the City of Mexico Beach Tree Warrior Council and Mr. Vasquez's council, correct?
Correct.
And during the time, I think the first one was June 15th to refer to the citation, and then there was communication ongoing through the remainder of the month. From that point forward to today, was this issue that we're here about today a sliver of the issues that were pending and being discussed by council between the parties here?
Objection. Ms. Moore, question, I'm not sure what you mean by sliver.
Let me ask it to you this way. The communication that is shown in these exhibits is referring to a sliver of the things that were being discussed between council for the parties here today. Is that correct?
Your Honor, again, can you clarify what you mean by sliver?
It is a portion, it's not the totality of what council was discussing, correct?
These were related to a single issue, which was the airbrush.
And there were more than just this issue. I guess that's the best way to put it. There were more issues between the city and my client than this airbrush issue, correct?
There are other issues, but this is unrelated to those.
And the other issue is pending before a court of law, correct?
There's an injunction, yes, ma'am.
Yes. And the injunction that is in place, the parties since June 15th to present have had informal meetings attempting to reach a global settlement of all issues pending between the parties,
That
correct?
is correct.
And that negotiation took place after the date of these emails, correct?
Correct.
And subsequent to that negotiation, well, let me ask you, that negotiation did not result in a successful negotiation, correct?
Correct.
And the city, through your council, has anticipated that an amended pleading would be filed based on that failure to reach a resolution, correct?
Could you repeat, I'm sorry?
Basically, your council was advised that an amended pleading would be filed to address all issues that were pending between the city and my client.
The one that has not yet been filed?
It had not been filed as of yet.
Objection to the formal question, it's a question for counsel, I suppose, but not for Mr. Smigelski.
Well, Mr. Smigelski was involved in the process of this informal negotiation. He has personal knowledge of this.
I'll allow it. I think I see where you're going.
And since that negotiation, in fact, a amended pleading has been filed, correct?
I'm not aware of it.
You're not aware of it. Have you been served with a copy of a amended pleading?
I'm not the person to whom that gets served, that would be the city clerk.
Are you aware of its filing?
I am not.
Okay, so you have no idea that an amended pleading has been filed?
That is correct.
I need to ask, what is it that you're actually alluding to regarding litigation? Are you representing Crazy Beach Pizza as a plaintiff in other actions?
Yes, Your Honor.
And they're pending in the Bay County Circuit Court?
Before Judge Fisher, yes. And the amended pleading that was filed, I believe, it's on the docket to be heard, because we've had to file a motion for permission to amend. It is at the end of October, I believe. That's the soonest date the council for the city was available to hear that perfunctory motion. The amended pleading addresses all of the issues, amongst which is addressed this issue with this temporary structure. From a practical standpoint, Your Honor, and I'll just just tell you that in lieu of the opening statement that I did. As of today's date, the structure has been removed. It was always temporary, it was never affixed to the ground, and it's been removed on the line. I understand that the city is going to move forward with this hearing, and I respect what the record reflects, but from a standpoint of its ultimate resolution, I believe that's going to be at the hands of the court, circuit court, in the case that's pending.
Okay, well, I'll accept that as your opening statement. Do you have any further questions for this witness?
Now that, since he has no knowledge of the filing of the second amendment complaint, then
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Smigelski, are you aware of any other issues, citations, lawsuits, anything like that involving the city and Crazy Beach Pizza LLC?
Yes, the beach vendor issue.
Does that have to do with Crazy Beach Pizza LLC or Hector Vasquez
It has
personally?
nothing to do with Crazy Beach Pizza.
Okay. Now, Mr. Vasquez is the registered agent, I believe, for Crazy Beach Pizza LLC, is that correct?
Correct.
But there are other issues involving Mr. Vasquez that don't have to do with Crazy Beach Pizza?
That's correct.
Any further questions, Your Honor? I was, this time I would call Chief Kelly.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Good, sir.
Chief Kelly, could you state your name for the record?
Anthony Kelly.
Could you state your occupation?
I'm Chief of Police of Mexico Beach.
And how did you become involved in this issue?
I was asked by Mr. Mel to serve a citation, as we do not have a code enforcement officer on each of the citations.
Okay, so were you acting as the code enforcement officer for this case?
I was asked to be a representative to issue the citations.
Did you, as part of your, as part of your investigation, did you visit the structure?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. Did you observe the structure to be an accessory structure on the property?
I observed a structure that was on the property area, yes.
At that time, did you issue a code enforcement, well, and when did you issue a code enforcement citation?
Well, there was 3 citations that were issued. I don't have the particular dates in front of me. If I can see the citations, I can give you the particular dates.
I have 2 of them. Let's see if I can find the other. There was an earlier one. Is this the citation you're referring to?
Yes,
Okay. And this was the first citation that you issued?
on the 26th, yes, sir.
Okay. And then did you issue a second citation?
Yes, I did, taking off the address, and the secondary one, there was some changes, and the address to represent Crazy Beach Pizza's location.
Okay. And so then, what date did you issue the next citation?
It was a rewrite for 6/27/2018.
And that would be citation 1101?
Yes,
And I'm here showing you a picture of citation 1101, which has already been entered into evidence as Exhibit C. Is that your signature right there?
yes, sir, it is.
And so you certified as the code enforcement officer for that ticket, issuing that ticket?
As the police chief, not as a code enforcement officer.
Right, understood. Okay, and then you later issued another citation, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Is this a true and accurate copy of that citation?
Yes, sir, it is dated 7/10/2018.
And that's citation 1103?
Yes, sir, it is.
do you have an additional copy of 1103?
Yep. Your Honor, can I bring Mr. Smigelski back up just for one item?
Okay.
Mr. Smigelski, can you take a look at an email that I'm about to show you?
Yes, this is an email dated July the 12th. It's the subsequent citation. that was related from Mr. Benanate to Mr. Henry.
Yeah,
Covering you and I.
You copied on that email?
Yes, sir.
Is that an accurate copy of the email you received?
Indeed it is.
And this email transmits citation 1103 to Mr. Mike Henry, counsel for Mr. Vasquez and Crazy Beach Pizza?
Correct.
This is the lemon freeze.
That's just the other transmittal of 1103. Your Honor, I'd ask that this email from July 12th, as well as a copy of the citation, be admitted into evidence as Exhibit D or 4, whichever, however you want to label them. Okay.
And you said from letters to numbers.
I wasn't sure if you referred to the third exhibit, so I didn't know if.
I was using numbers.
Okay, that's fine.
Since one of the documents we have is already got stamped A, I would rather transfer from your markings to,
Perfectly fine, so that would be 4.
okay, I've been handed an exhibit, it's 4 pages, it has a picture as the last
Does
image.
that include an additional email in it? Here, let me remove the last 2 pages, how about that?
Yeah, I would imagine it's 2 pages. One page
Yeah.
should be the cover letter and the other should be
Yeah,
the
there was
subject.
an additional email. It's just 2 pages of transmittal of the citation.
Any objection?
You wrote it to show.
Yeah, it's just that transmittal email and the one other thing.
Take this back. Okay, you may proceed.
Chief, when you issued these citations, did you have any contact with Mr. Vasquez, the registered agent for Crazy Beach Pizza?
Yes, sir, I did. We met at the beach location next to the Governor, and I gave him the first citation.
And do you recall anything about that conversation?
Other than him acknowledging the citation, but would not sign it until he spoke to his legal counsel.
And that would be citation 1100, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, what about citation 1101? Did you have any contact with Mr. Vasquez?
Both of the citations after that point all went through the city administrator.
And then by virtue of that, the city attorney and Mr. Vasquez's counsel, is that your understanding?
From my understanding, they were forwarded to Mr. Vasquez's legal representation by email.
At any time during this investigation, did you take any photos of the property?
We took one photo that wanting to know if the building was still present on location.
Do you recall when you took that photo?
If I may refer to my phone, I can give you the exact date.
Certainly.
Yes.
It's dated 7/20 of 2018 at 9:45 in the morning.
Okay, and so looking at the photo, is that an accurate depiction of the structure as it existed when you issued citations 1101 and 1103?
At the first contact, there were no vehicles around it. The vehicles were placed there after the fact. When I was instructed or requested by the city manager to see if the property structure was still there, that's the date I took the photos.
And for the purposes of the record, could you just describe what the structure looks like?
It's a wooden structure that's not fastened to the ground. Has mechanical doors that open up to the side, and you can see the contents of the structure.
About how large is it?
Maybe 8 by 8.
Your Honor, would you like to see a photo? We don't have printouts, but it might.
Yes, I would. May I?
Yes, sir.
Would you show that to the small one? Bring it back. And you said that photo was taken at 9:45 a.m. on July 20th?
Yes, sir, it's indicated at the top. And I forwarded that to the city administrator.
The second image is the same? Okay.
Chief Kelly, after issuance of citations 1101 and 1103, you were copied on an email between the city attorney and Mike Henry, counsel for Crazy Beach Pizza. I'll ask you to review that provision dated August 10th.
Yes, sir, I'll send copy of that also.
Is that an accurate copy of the email that you received?
Yes, sir, it is.
That was the one when the 30 days was running out on the heel, and they were just informing Mike that basically how it will happen now. In objection to entering the notice. Your Honor, we'd ask that email dated August 10th between various parties be admitted as the city's significant exhibit. It's also in our pre-hearing memorandum.
Hearing no objection, I'll enter it. It's a 2-page.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Chief Kelly, there was previously scheduled a hearing before the special master, I believe on August 17th. I'm correct, is that your recollection?
I believe so, yes, sir.
And prior to that, did you confirm that the structure was still at the site at that date?
Yes, sir, I did.
Is the structure, do you know if the structure is still there?
It's no longer there.
Do you know the date at which it was removed from the property?
No, I do not.
In the issuance of that ticket, of citations 1101 and 1103, did you take into consideration any other factors aside from whether Crazy Beach Pizza LLC had violated the city's land development code?
No, I did not. I was just a person that was asked to issue the citations. I had nothing to do with any other documentation.
Did you take into account any litigation that Mr. Vasquez personally or any other business is involved in with the city when you issued that citation?
No, sir, I did not. However, I was aware of the documentation that was issued with the court.
You were aware of the lawsuit and other litigation between Mr. Vasquez and the city, but that didn't have anything to do with your issuance of the citation?
That is correct.
Did Mr. Vasquez's race or any other character, any other characteristic about Mr. Vasquez personally motivate you to issue those citations?
No, sir, I did not.
Not sure I have anything else. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. I have a documentary question.
Yes, sir.
In Exhibit 4, we introduced citation 1103.
Yes, sir.
I also have 1101 here. Were they introduced at the same time?
No, sir.
Okay,
1101 was introduced, I believe, as Exhibit 3, along with a submittal email.
okay,
And then 1103 was introduced as Exhibit
perfect.
either 4 or 5 at all count. All right.
I know where to plug it in.
Ms. Mullin, do you have any questions for the chief?
Yes, I do. Chief, you spoke about.
I can't hear you, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You spoke about 3 citations, correct?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
said the first one was issued in error. There was a address issue? Is
Yes,
that
ma'am,
correct?
there was. I was asked to issue a citation to Mr. Vasquez, and I got the location on the structure in the body of the citation, but I put the home address as though the person would have been present on the citation.
So you prepared and issued the citation,
Yes, ma'am, I did.
all 3 of them?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay. And you said that when you made contact with Mr. Vasquez, you did it at the beach location,
Yes,
correct?
ma'am.
Despite it being Crazy Beach Pizza, this party. Was there a reason why you,
I went to his location because he was actually working down there that particular afternoon. I spoke to him on the telephone to make contact, and that's where he advised me he was at.
so you obviously associate Mr. Vasquez as one of the same Crazy Beach Pizza, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You said that when you met with him on the beach, that he acknowledged its receipt, but said that he was instructed to communicate through counsel, correct?
He said he would not sign the citation, that he would notify his attorney.
Okay.
And I advised him that the citation signature does not acknowledge guilt, it's just a copy of the receipt of the citation.
And were you aware of why he instructed you as his counsel, wanting to consult the counsel first?
Yes, ma'am, I was informed that communications would be through his representation.
And was that due to pending litigation between the parties?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was your understanding as of the date that that last citation was issued? What was your understanding of the status of the injunction that had been issued in that litigation?
There was still no conclusion to the injunction.
So the injunction was still in place against the city?
Yes, ma'am.
I have no further questions.
Do you have any further witnesses?
Your Honor.
And any redirect? Okay.
Actually, yes. Can I?
Yes. You may.
Chief Kelly, you were asked about the injunction that's been placed by the court against the city related to Mr. Vasquez. What is your understanding of that injunction?
With the pending litigation, there to be no activities in regard to what the citations are, what the injunction said as is under the leave no trace ordinance.
And so your understanding is the injunction currently in place only applies to enforcement of the city's leave no trace ordinance?
What we've been informed, yes, sir.
Okay. Have you been informed or been told that there's an injunction that prevents the city from enforcing its land development regulations?
I have not, but I'm not a code enforcement officer.
Is your understanding that the injunction does not prevent enforcement of land development regulations?
That is correct.
Thank you. Come on.
I gotta see this injunction.
I don't have a copy of it.
I'd be happy to forward a copy to you.
Are you going to allege that it doesn't include code enforcement activities, enforcement of land development regulations in the city of Mexico Beach?
No, the allegation, Your Honor, is that the matters that are before you today are encompassed in the second amended complaint that is before the court. They are not tied to the injunction that was issued a year and a half ago when this began. Since then, the activities that have led us to today's hearing have been recrafted in a second amended complaint, which is before the court. Hence, it's a little disingenuous to try to resolve a sliver of what is pending between the city when this issue is part and parcel to the global discussion and negotiation that has been had between the parties. So,
Okay, I received no stay request, no further information related to this injunction. It's the first I've heard of it. It sounds like it does not include specifically code enforcement of any sort. Okay, I had a moment there. I don't want to go against Judge Fischel ever. Okay, thank you, Chief Kelly.
Thanks, sir.
If you are ready.
if I could ask him just one.
Sure.
One issue that I wanted to confirm on record, given that he confirmed that he both prepared and issued the citation. And I'm only going to ask your knowledge on this. I know you're not a code enforcement officer. Given that this, or is it your understanding that any unaddressed code enforcement, let me just call it arrearage bill, will turn into a lien on the property? Is that your understanding?
Right, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And given that ultimate potential resolution or result, is it required that the actual owner of the property be provided notice?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it provided?
Not to my knowledge, the only citation address that was given was on the first one, and the second one was the location. That was forwarded to legal representation.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, ma'am.
I know this is a lot of closing arguments. Small closing arguments, present evidence.
Your turn.
I don't have, other than what I've already explained to Your Honor, I don't think it would be prudent for my client to speak further than what's already on record. I know that you have your obligation to issue based on what is presented to you today, and I hope you excuse my brevity and my shortness.
I understand.
Well, in that case, I would ask Mr. Vasquez a question. Has he been sworn in?
You were not sworn in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony that you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Vasquez, it's my understanding that the airbrush structure is no longer on the property.
Yeah.
When was it removed?
I believe about 2 weeks ago.
About 2 weeks ago.
What day of the week?
I don't know exactly the date, sir. I think it was Wednesday, 2 weeks ago.
Everybody's looking at calendars.
September 5th.
September 5th?
2 weeks
He believes it was Wednesday, 2 weeks ago.
It's September 5th.
Wednesday, 2 weeks ago, would be September 5th. Mr. Vasquez, does that sound about right?
I believe it was, yes.
So it was sometime after the Labor Day holiday?
Yes.
That's all my questions for Mr. Vasquez.
I have a couple of questions. Do you want to wrap it up?
If you have questions, go ahead and start there.
Chief Kelly testified that this was an unaffixed structure, about 8 by 8 in size, 8 foot by 8 foot. Photo indicated a structure that was roughly 8 foot by 8 foot. Obviously couldn't tell that it was attached. Does the city land development regulation differentiate between attached and affixed structures and its requirement for a development order?
No, Your Honor. I can cite the code to you. Give me just 1 second. Section 7.00.02 definitions defines development as any building activity involving any material change in appearance to any structure or land, or change in the intensity of land use exclusive of normal lot cleaning, where no trees or vegetation protected by the land development regulations are removed, or clearing of land for development purposes, and any of the following activities. And I'll skip over to number 2 of that definition, which is building, installing, enlarging, replacing, or substantially restoring a structure, impervious surface, or water management system, and including the long-term storage of materials. So clearly in the definition of development itself, there is no differentiation between affixed or unaffixed structures. And then when you go to section 7.01.00, under section A, or 7.01.01, section A states that any development activity within the city of Mexico Beach may commence only when, 1, the application for development has complied with the application and approval procedures established in this code and has received all required permits from outside agencies, and 2, a development order and certificate of concurrency has been issued by the city of Mexico Beach Building Department. Now, the code spells out both the process for a development order and the different types of development orders that are required. Section 7.02.02 defines the various types of development order required and when a different development order is required. And for the purposes of today, Section F, let's see, let me cite for the record clearly, 7.02.02 A1F defines major commercial development order and states that typical activities covered by a major commercial development order include 1, installation, construction, or modification of decks, patios, or accessory buildings. Also Section 3, construction of any new facilities of any kind. And also Section 6, change in use of any portion of existing commercial property. I believe that the installation of the accessory structure, which operated an airbrush, some sort of commercial airbrush operation, qualified under all 3 of those.
Do you disagree?
Of course, I disagree, Your Honor. Obviously, that's the crux of what has been argued in this injunction since it was filed. And I'm not talking about anything other than ambiguity in language. You highlighted the issue we've been arguing about. Is this actually something that is anything more than a maybe handicapped porta potty? It's something that is not attached. It's temporarily put there. It is not installed to become part of the structure. That's been our contention. We've discussed this. But I understand that the city interprets it in a different way, just like they interpreted the leaving of trace ordinance a different way, and they've interpreted various ordinances that have been solely applied to my client. So,
Is the property it was placed upon commercially zoned?
yes,
Was it used in furtherance of commerce?
I guess you could say technically, yeah. I mean,
Your Honor, could we place Ms. Miranda under oath if she's going to testify for all of Mr. Vasquez's case?
this is
I
argument.
think we're okay at this point.
I mean,
Just making sure.
you asked me if I disagreed, I gave you the reason
Perfect.
as to why I did.
I understand your position. All right, I have dates of issuance of the citation. We've established a date of removal. I am going to fine for the city. I do believe that this structure required a development order. At the very least, an application, whether it was approved or denied, that's the bare minimum, and that wasn't done upon notice. I think the $50 a day fine that's included, written on the citation, was noticed, and is appropriate. I believe that the second citation, 1103, is more informational, and I would say that 1101 should be enforced, not in conjunction with 1103, but on its own.
And the city would not object to that.
I will have to calculate the fine, but it's $50 a day from the day after issuance. We'll call that June 28th to September 5th, 2018. The order will be appealable to the circuit court.
Can I have some clarification on that? Is that
Yes.
issued solely to Crazy Beach Pizza?
Crazy Beach Pizza.
The
Crazy Beach
owner
Pizza,
was
not Mr. Vasquez. I do not believe that there's any sort of lien against this property. It's against the personal property owned by Crazy Beach Pizza if such were to not be paid.
That was the only, for the owner's sake, I wanted to clarify that.
And that's the city's position as well.
Okay. That concludes this hearing.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you all for being here. Adrian, I'll get you in order.
Can't take your-